Good afternoon, Stephen. Welcome.
Hey,
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Anything new with you lately? I know I haven't seen you in a little bit.
Uh, yeah, not really so much. Just kind of plugging along, just the same old grind, I suppose.
Okay. So, for today's session, I thought we might do something a little differently than our normal session. So, we'll still have our 10 minutes to discuss with one another, but I
Hmm.
thought it might be beneficial to kind of dive into maybe a specific situation that may have happened to you where maybe you didn't feel at your best. Is
Right.
there
Okay.
is there any situation that you've had maybe recently or in the past that maybe you acted in a way that wasn't maybe yourself and wasn't didn't have the most positive effects for you? Can you
Um.
recall any time such as that?
I suppose if I think back, I consider this still recent. I guess.
Okay.
So as you know, I'm on a year-long co-op that's about to finish, and it's away from home.
Mhm.
Um, and I think back to a stressful time was when I was sort of in the thick of applying to
Mhm.
co-op positions, and I applied to this one at Imperial Oil. It's a great job, but the difference was it was far away.
Right.
So I wouldn't be disconnected from my family and loved ones, but it would be sort of a physical disconnection, being 200 some odd kilometers away.
Mhm.
So, that whole process was not necessarily easy to accept.
Okay. And so I know you were talking a lot about like it wasn't easy to accept, but I want to kind of put
Right.
you right back in your shoes when you were in that moment. What sort of things were you feeling? What kind of thoughts were racing through your head? You were
So it
Yeah.
was, of course, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Steven.
Okay, so I was sort of feeling disconnected from everyone. It was difficult to rationalize in my head, like, this is a good move for me
Mhm.
and my career, that kind of thing. But I felt like I was doing a disservice or something wrong to, people that I see every day, people that I live with, my family, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So,
Can
um,
can you tell
it's just
me
sort of that.
what you mean by disservice just so I can follow with you?
So, um, I just felt like people were going to be annoyed that I chose this move for myself. People
Mhm.
that are used to seeing me every day, that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you received this job offer for this co-op position in Sarnia, but you felt conflicted about how that would possibly change your relationships because it's so far away. Is that correct?
Right, and a little bit of an extension to that is I felt not necessarily wrong. Maybe that's the wrong word for it, but I guess sort of wrong for bringing it up. I felt like I couldn't talk about it because it would be affecting them negatively. These are people that I would normally talk to about anything.
Okay, so you were feeling, it sounds like kind of intense emotions about this situation, but you felt like you weren't able to reach out?
I guess deep down I always knew that I could reach out, but it was causing me anxiety and it was more difficult to bring it up than a normal situation.
Okay. Okay. And how do you think that anxiety affected your day to day when you were in that moment?
So I feel like I put a lot more mental energy towards it
Mm-hmm.
than I would, normally be spending in a normal day.
Right.
And it was now that I'm at the end of the co-op, I'm realizing, okay, well, it wasn't so bad, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never really, it wasn't really rational to feel that I couldn't bring it up in the first place. But I carried around this anxiety, and that's a negative thing.
Of course. And I myself have definitely been in the same situation where you feel like you can tell these people anything, but when it comes to it, it's a little nerve wracking to discuss such important details about your life with those people, right?
Right, that's right.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. So you, of course, you accepted the job.
Hmm.
So what were you feeling like when you did accept that job? Did any of that anxiety go away?
Um, No, that's sort of all when it started. I There was part of it that felt, good. This is a good career move for me. I think it's a good idea. I need this for me. Um, but there was also the other side of it, which wasn't so good. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe I even felt a little guilty about feeling good about it, I guess.
Okay.
And it's not like a black or white issue. Like it was a mixture of all these feelings, good and bad.
Mm-hmm. So I noticed that when you're talking about this co-op position, when we've talked about it in the past, you've been really happy with where you're at and where it's brought you to this present day. But when you talk about it in the past, it sounds like you really have this conflicting feeling about it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's right. I'll
Okay.
say.
Okay. Um, so I'd like to ask you, what sort of positive attributes do you think this co-op position, now that you've had it, you've gone through the process of being in that in-between stage of being worried if it's the right choice for you and then deciding to move forward with Sarnia, what sort of positive attributes do you think you gained from that experience?
I would say maturity and independence, living on my own for a little
Mm-hmm.
while, being responsible completely, for myself, and just small things like getting to work, performing well at work, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I wasn't independent before, but it's absolutely independent now, if that makes sense.
Right.
I feel more confident with myself when it comes to where I'm at in like a career trajectory type thing.
Right, that's awesome.
Right.
I'm glad you're able to notice that in yourself and feel that. That's great.
Right, but this is in hindsight now that it's almost done, and I've got all these positive experiences from it. When I just accepted the job, it wasn't like that.
Right. So looking back, because you're saying in hindsight, so looking back, are you able to notice sort of the behaviors you were showing others when you were in that state of confliction that we talked about?
Sure, yeah, definitely. I definitely know I was withdrawing a little bit. I
Mm-hmm.
think I touched on it a bit earlier. I felt like the people that I normally talk to, I couldn't talk to them as much, or it was,
Right.
some sort of barrier. If it was real or not, I don't know if it was a real barrier, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt it.
Right. Um, so I wonder. I know, of course, now you're doing great and you're almost finished the co-op. But how did you end up getting past that anxiety of being able to not feel like you can talk to those people?
I think it was just, time pressure. Like the day I was, going to be moving out, or like that type of time was coming up soon. So,
Right.
you know, time sort of forced my hand, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. All
Eventually, I
right.
had to talk about it because the time was coming close to it.
Right, because it was becoming a reality, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So you dealt with this, the circumstance that you're explaining to me, and you're saying that it made you stronger, made you more mature, and better, maybe a better work ethic. So those are
Right.
some positive consequences that you outlined for me. What are some potential negative consequences that you may have acquired from going through that experience?
Um, it's not so recent, so it's sort of hard to say. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that I carried so much,
Yeah.
like long lasting negative effects, but when I think about it in hindsight, it's a lot of anxiety that I carried around for no reason, and no one wants additional anxiety, right? It's already tough enough,
Sure. Yeah.
if you know what I mean. So just knowing that I'm sort of annoyed when I think back, and I think, okay, there's no reason you need to carry around all that,
Right.
but
So
that's something only hindsight can tell you.
definitely, of course. So can you tell me what would be an alternative if you were back in that situation and you were able to see how you were possibly behaving? What's an alternative way that you might have been able to handle that?
So I would say if I could just get over the hump of anxiety and just bring it up,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would realize that it's not a huge deal. But that's definitely the road less traveled. It's not the easiest way. It's easiest just to withdraw.
Of course, I totally understand that. I do. Um, But as we've discovered here, the withdrawing didn't make you feel too great either.
Right. It is the easiest choice, but yeah, it's definitely not the best one.
Right. Okay. Um, so moving forward, it seems as though you have a pretty firm grasp on how that behavior affected you and how you can move forward from that.
Right. Yeah, I think that as well.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Well, I'm glad we were able to kind of dive in a little deeper to a specific scenario just so that we can use it as a self reflection piece and kind of gain just more understanding about, you know, how far we can really grow. So it's been a year since that moment, and you're confidently saying to me now that you feel more mature, you feel like you have a better work ethic, and it has had some real positives for you, and that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Stephen. Well, I think that's all the time that we have for tonight's session, and I hope that I can see you next week.
Okay. Me too. Thank you.
Okay, bye.